Chief Justice of India-led bench unanimously ruled that the scheme was unconstitutional and arbitrary and may lead to a quid pro quo arrangement between political parties and their donors. This one statement will sting the BJP the most. It gives more ammunition to the opposition to allege that the Saffron Party has been promoting the interests of, quote, suit boot types rather than championing the Aam Aadmi's welfare. It also opens the door for them to allege that the BJP used the so-called reform to tilt the electoral playing field in its favour. The opposition has alleged that the donors under ECBs or the electoral bond schemes, while technically anonymous, could be identified by the State Bank of India. And given that the SBI is a PSU bank, the government could have leaned on it to provide the names of the donors, if only to put pressure on them through threats to stop donating to opposition parties. Viewers, let me walk you through some of the Supreme Court's observations. It says anonymous electoral bonds are violative of the right to information, unquote. Infringement of right to information is not justified for curbing black money. The information about corporate contributors must be disclosed as donations are purely quid pro quo. That's a very interesting statement by the Supreme Court, viewers. Amendments in Companies Act permitting unlimited political contributions are arbitrary and unconstitutional, unquote. Information about funding of political parties is essential for electoral choices. Viewers, this is important, of course. Very, very important, because at the heart of electoral democracy is accountability. The voter needs to know who is funding whom, for what purpose, if there is indeed a quid pro quo, as there always is according to the Supreme Court. There are no free lunches, in other words, the Supreme Court says. A corporate, a donor will give money in exchange for something, perhaps retrospectively a favor, or prospectively, viewers, a favor. Who knows? All we know today is that the Supreme Court has struck it down. Most importantly, the Supreme Court has, in a stunning move, ordered the Election Commission to publish the details of funds received via the electoral bond route by the 13th of March. So what happens, viewers, is that the SBI will stop issuing electoral bonds as of today. The SBI will then release data to the Election Commission. The SBI is to furnish the details of bonds in cash by the parties. The Election Commission will then publish the details of the bonds on its website by March 13. The political parties will then refund the amount to the donors, viewers, or the voters. Ironically, the declaration of the name of donors and their donations to electoral bonds could prove problematic for opposition political parties, viewers. Here's the catch. This is because the Supreme Court in its judgment has adduced data to show that the share of income from these electoral bonds, in other words, from dark sources, unknown sources, of the opposition parties is overwhelmingly more than the figure for the BJP. In the case of the TMC, for example, 96% of their funds, their electoral funds, their poll funds, have come through the electoral bond scheme. Viewers, while the Congress share is an alleged 71% according to the Supreme Court data, this is 11% rather, more than the BJP's. But viewers, net, let me tell you that the BJP received a much greater sum of money from these electoral bonds than any other political party. Viewers, 7 times more, it is claimed, than even the Congress. But viewers, because the shares are different, the BJP and others are claiming that, relatively speaking, it is cleaner than the other political parties. Perhaps that is why the BJP is today continuing to defend the intent behind the reform, even while accepting the Supreme Court verdict. Listen in.
Judgment is of a constitution bench running into hundreds of pages. It requires a comprehensive study. This decision was undertaken for a very laudable objective, to bring in transparency in electoral funding.
कोई भी फैसला जब आता है माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट का, वो मान्य होता है, उसको स्वीकारना पड़ता है। अब आगे जाके ये स्कीम जो है, इस प्रक्रिया ऐसे चलेगी, कोई नई स्कीम आएगी, इस पे सरकार के क्या विचार हैं, चुनाव आयोग के क्या विचार हैं, संसद क्या तय करेगी, ये आगे जाकर इस पे कुछ सोचा जा सकता है।
Viewers, yes, the big question is what next? Remember, viewers, what this scheme replaced was illicit sources of money, of cash that came in suitcases that were recovered from various vehicles in the past of politicians. Viewers, it was an attempt willy-nilly to clean up the system. But at the end of the day, the Supreme Court has spoken. And viewers, there is one reason why the Supreme Court's judgment is special. And that is that it conclusively pours cold water of a long-running and sustained campaign by the opposition that the Modi government has allegedly suborned all institutions. That his allegedly dictatorial ways have ensured that no institution can stand up to him or his government. But the facts suggest otherwise. Not only has the Supreme Court hauled the government over the coals, but even the RBI, viewers, in 2017 and the Election Commission in 2019 had the gumption to warn the government against the reform. They had taken an obtuse view of it. The RBI said that there was a chance of potential misuse of the scheme via shell companies. It recommended digital or DMAT forms to prevent misuse, but the government opted for bearer bonds instead. It raised concerns over the dilution of RBI powers by allowing other authorities to issue bearer instruments. The Election Commission, on the other hand, highlighted non-availability to individual candidates and new parties and said that that would disadvantage these new entrants, make it difficult for them to compete with the bigger money-rich parties. It highlighted inconsistency of Rs 2,000 limit via IT Act and Rs 20,000 limit in Representation of People Act. Because, viewers, it was capped, the funding, a large number of big corporates used this particular bond route to flood the coffers of political parties. But viewers, net-net, if this was a dictatorship, the institutions would have caved in, they wouldn't have stood up. And this is not the first time. Just a few weeks ago in the Bilkis Bano case, the Supreme Court took a very obtuse view. It was one of those cases which had high political stakes involved, but the Supreme Court didn't bat with the government. And I remember reading editorials that said, wow, the Supreme Court has shown spine. This is from all those people who were claiming that it had been suborned. Now, in case you don't remember, viewers, let me remind you of what the opposition has been saying about the Modi government. Let's look at Rahul Gandhi first. Congress MP, he said BJP, RSS are capturing institutions and putting pressure on the EC and the judiciary. All of this flies in the face of developments today. Jairam Ramesh, Congress MP and its lead spokesperson and head of his media cell, says no previous government has interfered as excessively in the functioning of the judiciary as this one. Arvind Kejriwal, Delhi Chief Minister, says after illegally occupying multiple institutions, Centre wants to capture the judiciary. Asaduddin Owaisi, he claimed that Narendra Modi wants the judiciary to be totally loyal to him. Sitaram Yechuri, the CPIM General Secretary, and viewers, to their credit, they moved the Supreme Court. At least they decided to put their money where their mouth is, unlike some of the other opposition parties that actually voted for the reform, but are now claiming vindication. He said under Modi, government credibility of the SC must be restored. Viewers, I'm not going to tonight, however, indulge in any whataboutery. We are going to address this issue because any cleanup of the electoral process is a victory for us. There must not be an advantage for any political party, viewers, going into an election, because that actually fundamentally makes that particular election infructuous. Why have an election if one particular party from the very beginning has an advantage, whether through a law or some other associations? So let's open this up. We should speak with Trilochan Shastri, co-founder, Association of the Democratic Reforms, one of those who went up against the government in the Supreme Court and is won. So congratulations to you. R. Rajagopalan, senior journalist, is with us. Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst. Deshratna Nigam, political analyst and advocate. Viewers, as a journalist and as a broadcaster of this show, the hard facts are out there. And the hard facts are telling us that something was wrong. That something was wrong for the Supreme Court to come in and correct it. Now, first things first, sir. I want to ask you, Mr. Trilochan Shastri, fundamentally, we know the problems and we know why the Supreme Court struck it down. But where do we go from here? What is the next big step? Do we go back to an old system, money stuffed in suitcases? Where do we go from here now?
Very interesting question. Thank you. Actually, money was perhaps being stuffed in suitcases earlier, and money was being stuffed in suitcases even after the electoral bonds.
Right.
I think it did not stop that. The electoral bond did not stop money being stuffed in suitcases. That is a separate issue. What this judgment has done is it has to some extent stemmed the rot, because things can rapidly worsen with a formal system being extremely opaque. So that has been reversed. And we talk about international standards. You look at any leading democracy around the world, there are dozens of them. All of them have 100% transparency. So we have at least legally restored that. So this judgment needs to be welcomed.
On that one particular point, of course,
Whether
this judgment needs to be welcomed. We must move
not
towards transparency. But I just wanted to ask you, you said 100% transparency other democracies have. Would you say that about the United States, where PACs are allowed, where political action committees are allowed to lobby politicians, give them money, and then hope for favors?
No, I'm not a fan of the United States by any chance. I'm a fan of India.
No, you said 100%, so I was just wondering.
So the American system, no, sir, please understand the words carefully. We are talking about transparency. We are not talking about the system.
Okay.
There is transparency in other democracies around the world, and I had not singled out the United States. You are singling it out.
Right.
Here, the electoral bonds had completely made it opaque, and voters did not know who is giving how much money to whom. So that transparency has been restored. So that's it.
That's very, very important.
In line
viewers.
with international norms.
That's very, very important. If you don't know who is funding a political party, if you have no right under the Information Act to determine this, the system inherently is open to manipulation, corruption, etc. The Supreme Court itself has come out and said that, look, at the end of the day, it all comes down to quid pro quo. I'll just quote the Supreme Court. It says that, and here it is, yours, the quote, information about corporate contributors must be disclosed as donations are purely quid pro quo. Now, what does this mean, viewers? Why was it a problem? It was a problem because of certain reasons. The first, of course, was the money donated would be through bonds issued by the State Bank of India. So, viewers, while the scheme suggested that, look, donors could happily donate in complete anonymity, this wasn't entirely true, because the State Bank of India would have known who those donors are. And because it is actually a PSU, if a government wanted to play by certain unethical rules, it could have asked the SBI to supply the names of the donors and then called up the donors and said, why are you donating to the opposition? If you do, we will do this or we will do that. And therefore, viewers, we also see a huge section of these particular donations to one particular party and not the others, the BJP, etc. Now, that is what the problem was for the ADR. And of course, the RBI and the EC had warned the government. So I just want to bring you in. You're a lawyer, sir, Mr. Deshratnam Nigam. Why should today we not be celebrating what the Supreme Court is doing? Why is the BJP still sort of suggesting that, look, we brought in something which was better than what was, may not have been perfect, but at the end of the day, look at the numbers. The numbers show that overwhelmingly from unknown sources, it is the opposition like the TMC that got 90% plus funds from dark sources. The Congress got it from 71%. We were much lower.
Yes, Rahul, let me tell you the question you've rightly raised. Now what? The Supreme Court has dealt with the past. Present has been left unregulated. The future has been left unregulated. You go back to the system of cash. There is no law as to regulate that. I still have to read the thousands of pages of judgments which is there. But what impression that I get is the field has been left unregulated. The cash transactions would come in irrespective of any political party. And the Supreme Court, nobody can deny the fact that the system should be transparent. Obviously, it should be transparent. But was this a scheme better than the previous one? Yes. It was far better and superior than the cash transactions that used to take place. We remember, Jharkhand Mukti Morcha cases where huge amount of, cash was recovered and so many things were there, buying, purchasing, the MLAs, MPs. So are we going back to the same system? Because today the field is unregulated and the elections are right on your head. So what is to be done now?
No, but why would the government have opted for this opaque system, Mr. Deshratnam Nigam? What was the motivation? Why not let everyone know who is funding you? We're an open, mature democracy. What's the problem? That's the fundamental question.
See, first, it was better than the previous system, one. Second, what happens if you disclose the name? If the government changes, the revenge starts after that. These are the people who voted for the previous government. Let us go after them. So that is one aspect where the secrecy needed to be maintained. And yes, they were subject to audit. Nobody is denying that they were not subject to income tax laws or the audit. If there was any problem, the income tax department can start inquiries and then it can be passed on to the various agencies depending on.
But Mr. Nigam, isn't it also a fact, and we're going to try and get Mr. Shastri back. I don't know why we have lost him. Let's try to get him back. Wasn't it also a fact that the companies were not required to disclose the donations in their statements? And even a route was created for foreign companies to basically donate through their Indian subsidiaries to the funds of various political parties, which was a new development.
Is it to me?
Yes, sir. It's to you,
what
sir.
I'm saying is, these things were already working through Hawala routes earlier when the scheme was not there.
No, but we
formalized.
can hardly say that you formalized a Hawala route. We're not saying that, are we?
No, I'm not saying.
Okay.
I'm saying the black money which was being there. Now everything is accountable.
Okay.
The
So
income
you're saying that even if foreigners were donating money, they were doing it through the purchase of bonds. The identity was known to the SBI. They would have had to, the political parties then would have had to declare how much money they got from these particular bonds and pay taxes. That's what you're trying to suggest here.
Yeah, see, it is first thing, Rahul.
But I want to ask you something. Fundamentally, Mr. Deshratnam Nigam, I want to ask you something. The SBI would have known. Would the SBI, I'm just saying, I don't know. I'm not casting aspersions. I believe that the SBI must be a very upright institution and that a public servant appointed by the government would have had the courage to stand up to the government. Is it not possible that the SBI would have said, well, sir, since you're asking, here are the name of all the donators, and the government could have actually, forget what happens after they are voted out, forget about when the opposition would have come in. Could not the government have picked up the phone and influenced the donators and said, why are you giving it to TMC or to Rahul Gandhi or to whoever it is?
Rahul, in fact, government works through written records. Even if they have to ask SBI, it has to be through a written record, through a formal request. It cannot be that somebody takes out the data and hands over to the Congress. That way, Congress could have also got by corrupting the people in the SBI.
Yes.
So it has to be through a very formal route. And that formal route till now has not been established. Even Supreme Court has not said so, that the data has been shared.
So Tehseen, let me come to you, since you're raising your hand and smiling. Look, you can score points today against the government. I totally accept this. But where was the Congress when it was voting for this particular provision, for this reform in the House? Why didn't it do exactly what the CPIM, your own partner, did, which is go to the court and implead itself and become part of the case that ADR filed? Why did you not do this, sir? Why did the Congress party not do this?
Yeah, so I'll answer that question. But before that, I want to tell your viewers two very important things. And these are very misleading things that are being said on the show. I have a lot of respect for Deshratan Nigamji. Number one, and this was demonstrated by Kapil Sibalji in court. Number one, let's assume that I, Tehseen, bought a bond to bribe Deshratan Nigamji from a political party, any political party. Deshratan Nigamji does not have to get the information from the State Bank of India. Deshratan Nigamji gets a code, say A1. And all Tehseen has to tell him is A1 is being given by me, which is 100 crore rupees, and that can then become a quid pro quo. So for whatever the reason is. So one, the political parties, whichever, could be Congress, BJP, would know by the person donating. It's not, so it's only opaque or non-transparent for people like you, Rahul, or for Sir here, or for citizens like me. It's not non-transparent for the political party. So Sanjay Hegde said something brilliant in Supreme Court. He said when the Harshad Mehta scam, Harshad Mehta demonstrated to people like you in the media, and Sir here will know, that 1 crore rupees could be fit in a briefcase and given to the Prime Minister. Now, 100 crores just has to be given in an envelope. And that is the difference in how this has actually legalized Hawala money. Let me tell your viewers a third thing. Because of the bearer bonds, Tehseen could buy a bearer bond, then subsequently give it to Deshratan Nigamji, who could give it to a third person, who could give it to a fourth person, and Rahul, from a foreign entity into an Indian subsidiary, could give it to a fifth company. So that again creates a number of, not only a number of loopholes to give the money and allow for cash transactions. In some states where elections happen, this is what businessmen did. Businessmen gave a bond to the political party. The political party in return for that gave the businessman 70% cash back because they had cash. Remember, political parties on getting money below 2,000 rupees don't have to declare the name or the PAN card. So the cash was also being exchanged. So now the businessman gets cash, the political party gets white money. Okay. This was not just terrible. Political parties don't have to pay tax. It's just a terrible thing.
Okay, so you're talking about money laundering. You're talking about money laundering. So Tehseen Punara, fine. Obviously, you guys, I mean, I'm talking about the gentleman, ADR, CPIM, etc., made a very strong case. True. I wanted to ask you, and you haven't answered that question. Why didn't the Congress then go to court? Why did it vote for this particular change and reform?
So, where else will the political parties get? Because the system is completely in our country skewed.
Hang on.
Yeah,
that is
I agree, and I
bizarre
respect
response.
the CPIM for this.
Bizarre response.
No, it's not a bizarre response. Allow me to.
Bizarre response. Did you vote for the three farm laws? You didn't.
No, they didn't.
Why? At that time, they weren't worried about where the farmer was going to get his next tranche from MSP from, was he? Or were they?
But Rahul Gandhi stood up against this.
He
spoke out against this, and he said that when the Congress
opposition
comes to power,
can today. Well, look, the government has been caught out here by the Supreme Court, not by Rahul Shivshankar, not by anyone else. ADR, the CPIM, and another particular group. They went to the court and they did what they did. Most of the other opposition parties looked the other way. Till they realized, oh my gosh, a lot more money is going to the BJP than it's coming to us. That's really what worried them. Mr. Raja Gopalan, before I come to you, let me just break this news coming in. This has been doing the rounds, viewers, for a while. The government says, through its sources, on a particular point, which is that the Supreme Court has asked the EC to publish the names of all the donors retrospectively. This is quite unusual, viewers, going back to 2019, so 5 years ago. Government says, what about the legal rights of the donors who were operating under a legal guarantee when donors bought these electoral bonds, they were given a legal guarantee that their names would not be disclosed. They donated without fear of malicious targeting or unjustified mudslinging. Does a legal regime created by Parliament have no sanctity? The Supreme Court would have said disclose names prospectively, but not retrospectively. That would have been fine, as any new donor would have been aware of legal consequences, but retrospective declaration of names is highly suspect in legal terms. Viewers, however, many people who are arguing against this would say that in 2019 itself, when the matter had begun, and I want to bring in the ADR co-founder on this, sir, many people who retrospective would say that, look, these people knew that this particular regime was being challenged. It was only a matter of time before it would have been struck down. So they should not have actually donated. So today they can't claim that they are being done out. Would you go along with that, Mr. Trilochan Sastry?
I will just go with the Supreme Court. Whatever the Supreme Court has said is the final law of the land, unless somebody can persuade them to change it.
Okay.
And I think we are splitting too many hairs. Whether the Congress is right, the BJP, that is not our interest. ADR is not interested that BJP is getting the maximum amount of money. We congratulate them if they are getting a lot of money. We are interested in voters and democracy, and we are interested in transparency.
Yes.
Now, all these details about the Supreme Court should have done this, the Congress should have done that, the BJP should have done this. This is not about the country. We are only interested in the country and democracy.
We are interested in cleaning up the system, said
Whether
ADR.
Congress
second.
is right or BJP is right.
Right.
It is not.
That's not your interest. I completely agree
all.
with you, sir, and I think
Because
that what you have
nobody is
done.
batting for the country.
Absolutely.
Every political
The problem-
party is batting for itself.
Yes.
In the name of the country.
Absolutely.
Because everything they do is correct.
Okay.
Everything the opposition does is wrong. Are we interested in this? This is not the way to run the country.
This is not the way to run.
Every party saying what we did is correct and what everybody else
Okay,
is doing.
but let me just quickly bring in
Congress
Mr.
has WhatsApp me. Congress has WhatsApp me to clarify something. I got a message from a top Congress leader to tell you.
Name the
that
leader.
Congress party.
Name the leader.
Transparency. Let there be
Transparency. Let there be name the leader.
transparency.
Can I
Name
please
the
give you the
leader.
important point, or
Name
I'll
the leader.
please allow me to do it. No, yeah. Please, it's something important. Congress party was a petitioner. Jaya Thakur of the Congress party was a petitioner, and Congress not only promised to scrap this in 2019, as I told you, they did then make representations to EC to scrap the scheme, saying that look, we went for it.
Again,
They have some
as an
fundamental
afterthought.
flaws.
Anyhow,
They went to
viewers,
EC.
look,
No,
the fact
that's all right,
is,
but they went to EC,
all
just
the
to
political
clarify.
parties, barring one or two, let me give you another example, viewers. When the Supreme Court said that people, candidates who have charge sheets against them should be debarred from elections in heinous crimes, only two political parties, viewers, none of the mainstream ones, only two political parties at that time said okay. Everyone else kept quiet and objected to this. At the end of the day, viewers, the Supreme Court left it to the legislators to decide on the, even today, they have not been able to come out with a law. So let's not trust these political parties. The fact is today, viewers, democracy has won, Mr. Raja Gopalan. And no one can say that all our institutions are suborned, that the Supreme Court is suborned, that under Modi, who's a dictator, the EC is suborned, that the RBI has gone and become to use Tehseen Poonawala's favorite expression,
It's a political issue.
molten lava.
Lagul Shivashankar, it's a political issue. The ADR has been used by certain political parties to go for some sort of, about the quid pro quo.
No, but how can you make that allegation against the ADR? Mr. ADR, Mr. Shastri.
Will ADR say DMK has given 15 crores on record to CPM? Why that has not been taken? That is also a bribe. It's on record. Election Commission put it out. Why ADR did not take it on their board? Why they not contest in the Supreme Court? Apart from that, Rahul Shivashankar, quid pro quo. I am seeing danger in the regional parties. There are two national parties affected with the Congress and BJP, but regional parties. DMK has got 66%. TMC has got 71%. What is the quid pro quo? In the state governments?
No,
they
TMC has got 90 plus. 90
plus. So therefore, regional parties are in state. My apprehension, Rahul, I am very clear in that During UPA regime, Nira Radia tape created a havoc. In NDA regime, this electoral bonds is going to create that is why Supreme Court also kept it vague. It is not.
So let me get the ADR co-founder to respond to you on that charge that you made about the DMK, Mr. Raja Gopalan. Yes, Mr. Shastri, could you respond, sir? Did you get into
comment.
it? Did you become a political front for some particular political party?
No, but I am not even going to defend myself. Anybody can make any allegation. Our goal is simply to help voters and improve democracy. If somebody thinks that we are doing wrong, they have every right to say that we are doing wrong. But we have no affiliation with any political party.
Mr. Raja Gopalan, does that satisfy you?
No,
It may not, but we are not here to defend.
That he himself is contradicting. He is contradicting himself, Mr. Shastri. I charge that ADR has been misused by political party.
Okay, look, viewers, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it only matters what the Supreme Court has said, and the Supreme Court has struck this down, viewers. It of course leaves us now grappling with what next, what is going to be the poll funding route. What do you suggest, sir? Mr. Shastri, very quickly, what do you suggest should be a way out of this?
No suggestion. They will find
one second, Mr. Shastri.
No suggestion.
You've done a lot of work. No, let him speak, please. It's not fair. Yes, Mr. Shastri.
I think he is very annoyed with us, and we welcome that because in a democracy, free speech is required.
Yes.
For the record, nobody in ADR, including me, knows anybody from any political party, and least of all from the DMK. We have no idea.
Okay.
We have no personal contact with any political party.
Okay, what next, sir?
On the other,
how do we improve the system?
I think we have already taken a step to improve the system. We need limits on political party funding. We have to debate the issue of public funding of political parties. We have to. There are lots of things that need to be done. This is just
but the issue of political parties raising money, can we say that if this particular electoral bond scheme becomes completely transparent, would that solve the purpose, or would donators not even come forward, which is one of the problems?
Not at all, sir. Even before electoral bonds, people were donating money to political parties, and they will continue to donate. Before electoral bonds, black money was being donated.
But we don't want black money in the system. At least this particular system gave people. Yes.
Sir, no. Let us be very clear. The RBI data has shown that the amount of black money in circulation after demonetization had doubled. So this electoral bond did not remove any black money funding to political parties. It is just a statement that some parties are making. So we are back to status quo, and we need to improve the system. And
well, we are back to status quo. Dangerous that we are back to status quo, viewers. I'm not saying that the existing system. One second. I need to make this point. I am not saying that the existing system was also not incapable of being corrupted. Clearly it was. That's why the Supreme Court has shot it down. But where do we go from here?
Correct.
No answers, viewers. No answers. I don't know. 2024 election is upon us. Will this open the floodgates? Which way will it open? This will have consequences, viewers, for every political party and its strategy as we go forward. I can tell you this. If money is found sloshing around now in larger quantities, more opaque, funded from here, maybe even externally, hawala, shawala, I don't know. But viewers, that makes for a very dangerous set of circumstances. I don't know.
I would like to thank you, and I will have to go for another meeting.
Of course, sir. I need to move on also on the show, because we're going to go to a very, very, very serious story, viewers, that needs to be looked at very, very closely. But viewers, just very quickly, on the previous issue, on the issue of the Supreme Court's judgment, let no one now say to anybody that our institutions, that our democratic institutions are corrupt. And if any politician is making those nonsensical remarks, all of you viewers should tweet back to them there and then and tell them that they're misleading us, you, and of course, viewers, the world. India's democracy is robust. There are checks and balances, and they work. We are not a 2-bit banana republic. I need to move on, viewers. I need to move on, because The story I'm going to tell you now is going to make your skin crawl. Dozens of women have come forward in West Bengal, Sandeshkhali district, to claim that there was institutionalized sexual effrontery at the hands of local TMC cadre. Most of the accusations have been made against the cronies and kin of a local TMC leader. This is the same individual who was caught up in the eye of a storm when the Enforcement Directorate officials raiding his home were brutalized. You will remember those visuals, viewers. You will remember those visuals where ED honest officials landed up to raid this person's premises, and they were beaten black and blue, beaten back. Viewers, the women, most of them self-help group workers, have alleged that they were summoned at odd hours of the night by the cronies, the henchmen of this TMC leader, under the pretext of meetings organized to discuss strategies for program implementation, but then systematically molested. I will read to you some of these testimonies, viewers. I didn't have the heart to play them on video. One woman says, they used to call us for meetings. Our husbands were not called. Some of us cooked, and a section of women, including me, were told to stay back. They would pull my sari and touch me inappropriately. I kept quiet because I knew what would happen if I protested. Another woman said, viewers, a list was kept of those who failed to turn up for meetings. Once I could not attend because of my health, and my husband was beaten up at the market. Viewers, imagine, a husband knows that his wife is being called in the middle of the night. He can't do anything about it because he will be perhaps beaten, brutalized, maybe even murdered. His wife can't do anything about it because she fears that not only will the husband be brutalized, but perhaps other members of her family. Another woman says, we used to get summons at 10 p.m. at night. They would touch us whenever, wherever they like, and pull at our saris. I went through that so many times, and I'm not alone. Because the reason these women didn't speak up is because who could they have complained to? They felt that even if they had gone to the police being, of course, most often, viewers, under political directions, would have reported back to the molesters that these women had come forth, and they would have, of course, been again set upon. Another woman said they were changing our land from agricultural to fisheries. When we said no, we were beaten up and had to apologize to them. After that, we could never say anything. Another says, my grandson was forced to work for them. They did not pay money, but gave him a gun and a lathi and told him to extort money. I sent him to Delhi, but I'm still afraid. Viewers, one would have thought that the state administration would have taken this very seriously. One would have thought that an independent commission of inquiry would have been instituted under a judicial magistrate, a sitting one, or a demand would have been made, or even an external agency would have been called in. But Mamata Banerjee, who finally broke her silence on this matter, instead of standing with the women, has chosen to suspect their motives. This even as her government has instituted a CID probe into the allegations. Won't Mamata's words prejudice this probe? Don't they summarily give the accused the benefit of doubt? And most importantly, where are the members of the left ecosystem that have attacked the union government in the past, or the BJP in the past, for not heeding the pain of women wrestlers, for instance, who are allegedly tormented by a federation boss who was also a BJP leader and member of parliament? Viewers, before I ask those questions, let's listen to Mamata Banerjee.
অন্যায়কে কোনোদিন প্রশ্রয় দিইনি এবং আমি ইনিশিয়েটিভ নিয়ে স্টেট কমিশন পাঠিয়েছি, আমাদের অ্যাডমিনিস্ট্রেশন পাঠিয়েছি, 17 জনকে অ্যারেস্ট করা হয়েছে এবং আপনারা দেখেছেন যারা মুখে মাস্ক পরে পরে ছবি তুলছে, ধরাও পড়েছে বিজেপির কর্মী, কিভাবে তারা বাইরে থেকে নিয়ে এসে একটা এলাকাকে অশান্ত করার চেষ্টা করেছে। আগে টার্গেট শেখ শাহজাহান, ওকে টার্গেট করে ইডি ঢুকলো, তারপরেই সবাইকে বার করে দিয়ে তারপরে ওখানে আদিবাসী মাইনরিটিদের মধ্যে ঝগড়া লাগিয়ে দিল। মহিলা টিম আছে ওখানে, পুলিশেরও একটা মহিলা টিম আছে, ঘরে ঘরে যাচ্ছে কার কি অভিযোগ শুনতে। শুনে এসে রিপোর্ট করার পর যদি কারো প্রবলেম থাকে সেটা নিয়ে নিশ্চয়ই আমরা কাজ করব। আগে তো আমাকে জানতে হবে ব্যাপারটা কি। সন্দেশখালী আজকে নতুন নয়, ওখানে আরএসএস এর একটা বাসা আছে। 7-8 বছর আগেও দাঙ্গা হয়েছিল ওখানে, কতগুলো দাঙ্গা স্পটের মধ্যে এটাও একটা স্পট, মনে রাখবেন।
Viewers, irony has died 1,000 deaths today. Let's open this up. Let's go straight across to Tausif Khan, who is going to be speaking up for the TMC today. Tausif Khan, it's a simple question. A few months ago, in fact last year, the TMC, the Congress, other members of the opposition, the India bloc, etc., they all showed up in the union capital. They made their way to Jantar Mantar, where they put their arms around women wrestlers. And they said, India must listen to their pain. India must investigate this. The BJP needs to ensure that the main culprit, the then accused, should be removed from the ranks, purged. That, viewers, the opposition said, the Prime Minister must step down, the Minister of Sport must step down. And today that same Mamata Banerjee, Tausif Khan, is not willing to listen to these women and is saying that these women are actually disguised RSS workers. Have we got absolutely no sense of proportionality here? After the indignity allegedly heaped upon them, you want to also heap injury? Aren't the double standards so glaring? Tausif Saab, respond please.
Rahul, you see, the situation in Sandeshkhali escalated when the cases of arsoning and riot came into fore. There were poultry farms which were burned down and violence took the way. Mamata Banerjee took a swift action. Administration was sent, police deployment made. And in order to address all the grievances of the ladies in Sandeshkhali, a special team of police team of 10-member police team was set up with the SP rank, with a DSP rank officer, a lady officer leading that team. And this team is going door to door, engaging in a conversation with the local families there and investigating the incident, giving ear to their accusation and allegations, and carrying out the investigation accordingly. Also, State Women Commission was dispatched by Mamata Banerjee government. They have also visited the site and submitted their report. There, even today, Mamata Banerjee spoke inside the house, inside the assembly, that there is a conspiracy on the occasion of the Saraswati Puja. There was a conspiracy to create law and order situation.
Right.
That there is a RSS group active over there, and there has in the past also there was case of riots.
Right.
So, on the pretext of the predicament of the women, the state government cannot allow any group to take law in their hand.
Of course.
And to create disturbance.
Of course.
Resort into arson and rioting.
Of course.
And to create danga in the
of
state.
course,
and
of
that's
course.
What Mamata Banerjee is doing there.
What a great administrator. Viewers, the same
Yes.
TMC.
RSS,
one second.
who is involved in
The same TMC supports the farmers who have taken the law into their own hands and decided to block train tracks today, viewers. Over what? Over some maximalist demands.
Farmers are not criminals.
Just one second, sir. The law says you cannot block any trains. You could be angels, but the law is greater than every angel. Okay, you talked about law, I didn't. You said she's upholding the law. How can she allow anyone to run riot? Well, then don't support rioters when it comes to other states. Hypocrites. Viewers, I always speak my mind. In the first debate, I spoke my mind. In this debate, I'm going to speak it. I'll tell you, viewers, the problem with what this gentleman is saying to us, Tausif Khan. He says that a 10-member cell of the police has been set up. Now, viewers, these are the first people who say that, oh, look at the forces around the country under the BJP. They're all completely mobilized to do what the BJP wants to do. The ED is also mobilized to do it. So by that yardstick, viewers, the police in Bengal must be also mobilized. It's not as if Mamata Banerjee wears some special halo around her head that Mr. Modi doesn't have. Either we trust all our politicians, viewers, or we trust the system. What would have been better? You appoint a judicial magistrate, sitting one, to hold an inquiry, or you move court requesting for a court-monitored CBI inquiry, central inquiry, because the charges are grave.
Court
After
has
all,
already
one second,
taken
sir.
action.
One second. Why would
No,
the
no.
court have to take action?
The High Court,
No, 1 second. I haven't finished. Mr. Tausif Khan, I haven't finished.
High Court has taken suo moto action and asked for the
Because
report.
obviously, because it saw
Yeah,
that
asked
nothing
for the
was being
report.
done. So it had to step
they
in.
have asked for the
But just
report
1
and the
minute,
report
just
will
one.
be provided
I'll tell
in
you,
due
the
course.
report will be provided, viewers, by the same people who are defending the same interests, who are appointed by the same government. At the heart of it is conflict of interest. You see, viewers, that's why in
So
the
you
Gujarat,
don't trust Mamata government, you don't trust
can you let me
Calcutta High
speak?
Court also.
Can you let me speak? I never interrupted you, sir, when you spoke. I gave you full play. Now let me speak, sir, because there are certain fundamental things that I'm saying because I'm being very honest tonight. Viewers, in the Gujarat riots, what was the big claim? That the Gujarat government can't be investigating its own self. So petitions were filed before the Supreme Court to set up an SIT which was monitored by the Supreme Court. Why, viewers? Why would that be the case? Here the court has stepped in because it is seen a reluctance. Okay. Now, viewers, he says that a 10-member team has been asked to investigate and they're going house to house. Have they submitted their probe report? No, viewers. But Mamata Banerjee in the house is standing up and saying that all these women are RSS workers. Do you think any of those 10 policemen who get their salaries from the exchequer of the Bengal government are going to say, Mamata Banerjee, I'm sorry, you're wrong? Who are you fooling? Who are you fooling? That's why you don't send spokespeople to this show. Enough of your fooling. Enough of your fooling the nation. You apply the same yardstick then to that other chap. The
So
member of
going by
parliament,
that standard,
the member of parliament,
CBI are all
the member
paid
of parliament
by
who was
central
being
government.
attacked by, the member of parliament who was being accused rather, by women wrestlers. The government said exactly the same thing at that time. There was a conspiracy. In fact, that chap also came out and said, viewers, to all of us, conspiracy ho raha hai mere khilaf. Viewers, you can't change the definition of law just because it's not your state. The West Bengal BJP, let me bring you in, sir, Saurav Sikdar. How would you respond today to Mamata Banerjee, who has come out and said that these are RSS agents?
Rahul, I just want to ask you one
One
simple
second.
question.
I haven't finished my question.
Yeah.
And number two, why
Please,
shouldn't
please.
we believe? Why shouldn't we believe Mamata Banerjee when she said these are RSS agents? After all, that is exactly what the BJP also said when it was defending the Federation Chief of the Wrestling Federation of India, when women wrestlers were making the same allegations. In fact, he's back as Federation Chief and his son is number 2. Mr. Sikdar.
Yes. I just have a small question that even that women are RSS supporters, are they allowed to be raped, to be used like this, sexually harassed? See, today Mamata Banerjee has outrightly rejected the such crime against women in Sandeshkhali. This is more ghastly crime than inflicted the wounds of the by rejecting the plea of the woman. She has rejected any scope of investigation. The rejection should be checked by the civil society. Now, the name of the civil society, nothing exists independently in West Bengal, sir. Now, you know, a village women, villagers, I mean, they may not be very educated, or they may not be so upcoming. when they came and speak out about their dignity, it is something to think, sir. And when Mamata Banerjee defending Shahjahan
Well,
in,
let me tell you, viewers,
in-
let me tell you, there is a problem here, and that is of trust. Trust is broken, and that poultry farm that was burnt by frustrated women who realized they were getting no justice. So let's not make this about some big law and order issue. Yes, take action against them. Put them behind bars if you want for their act of desecration, but for God's sakes, give them back their dignity via justice. Don't make a mockery of justice. And don't run away from anchors when they ask you questions directly that matter, because others don't have the gall to do so. Why? Well, viewers, because there are sinecures to be had. I'll leave it at this, viewers. But when I come back, we're going to look at a very important story. Don't go away.
Co-powered by. Of all this data now, it's March 31st, and we all know that Lok Sabha elections are scheduled in the month of April and May as they were in 2019. That is expected. Another interesting part that has been directed by the Supreme Court, that political parties will have to refund the amount to the voters, whatever electoral bonds are lying uncashed with them. So when a person buys an electoral bond, he has 15 days to donate it to a political party, and then the political party encashes that electoral bond from the SPI. But whatever uncashed amount is there, that amount will have to be refunded. We don't know how much that uncashed amount will be, but that amount will have to be refunded to whoever has donated that money. Also, politically, this is definitely a setback to the BJP, because the BJP had been, defending this scheme. In fact, the government in the Supreme Court, if I quote what Tushar Mehta had told the court, he has said that the focus of the scheme was to ensure anonymity. Not to ensure anonymity. He said the focus of the scheme was not at all to ensure anonymity, but to ensure confidentiality, because he said there was an apex court decision itself of 2019 that recognized the right of privacy as a fundamental right. So he argued that the donors also have a right to privacy. Unless the information is of genuine public interest, in that case people could approach the court. But definitely the Supreme Court has taken a different view here. It has said that the interest of the voter to know who donated to the political party he wants to vote for, the candidate he is voting for, is more paramount. So that is what I think the distinction that the Supreme Court has drawn here. And the electoral bond scheme, another point which was very significant in the electoral bond scheme, that you could purchase it for any value in multiples of 1,000, 10,000, 1 lakh, 10 lakh, or 1 crore. And the allegation of the petition also was that most of the electoral bonds which have been bought are of higher denomination. So it is mostly the corporates and the private companies which may have bought these electoral bonds and make donation to political parties. Is there a chance of quid pro quo also? Because the donation is completely anonymous. So nobody apart from the government knows who is contributing to whom. So this is another point that in fact the petitioners had raised, that there is nothing in the scheme which connects the donations are actually made towards participation in the electoral process, because there is no way to monitor how the political parties spend that money which they get through electoral bond. It may not just be on election, may not be something else also. So all these points were raised by the petitioners before the court, and now the striking down of the electoral bond scheme as unconstitutional is a big development ahead of the Lok Sabha elections. This will have its impact on various political parties and setback to the BJP. Let's see how the party and the government respond to this. But coming ahead of the Lok Sabha elections, this is definitely something which will dominate the political discourse now, and especially if the list of the donors and the entire donations made under the electoral bond scheme are made public by the Election Commission of India, as has been directed by the Supreme Court. So in a big judgment today, the Supreme Court of India has struck down the electoral bond scheme. It has said the electoral bond scheme is against the right to information of voters. It is not the only scheme to tackle black money. This is a major step by the Supreme Court today. One, it is a unanimous judgment, so this will have wide political ramifications. The opposition would see this as a big win for it. ahead of the Lok Sabha elections, because this is something that the opposition parties, the left, the Congress have been strongly fighting against, saying that this scheme is full of opaqueness. It increases corporate donations to political parties in power, and the allegation also from the Congress and from other parties in the left was the opposition ecosystem. In fact, the opposition political parties was that this scheme was ending up benefiting mainly the parties in power, be it in the center, which is the BJP, or be it in the states, whichever political party was in power. What is the electoral bond scheme? This was a scheme brought in by the former then finance minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, in 2018. When the rules were notified, the government had in fact said, and if I read those rules out, the government in fact had at that time said that this scheme is being brought about to ensure that the electoral funding is cleansed. That was the logic given by the government at that time, that you can buy any company, any individual can go and buy an electoral bond from the State Bank of India, and that bond they could give it to a political party which can encash it. The catch here was that the electoral bond would not carry the name of who is making that donation. So in a way, that anonymity was given to the donor. Neither the political party nor the donor needed to reveal the name of who had donated that money. Only the SBI, and by virtue SBI is under the government, so only the government knew. That is what the petitioners say. And the petitioners say that led to a certain level of anonymity. Is there quid pro quo? Some petitioners had alleged in court, led by Prashant Bhushan and Kapil Sibal, that whichever company, that cap which was there on companies that they could donate to a certain amount was also removed. So we have seen big donations coming into political parties, and the opposition and the petitioners in the Supreme Court basically have alleged that over 60% of the donations which have come through electoral bonds have gone to the BJP. That was the major context in which the parties had approached the Supreme Court. Now, what the Supreme Court has said: one, it has said that the sale of electoral bonds should be immediately stopped. SBI has been directed to stop the sale of electoral bonds. SBI has been also been directed to issue the details of which political parties have received electoral bonds, what the data is. That entire data has to be furnished to the Election Commission of India by March the 6th. And the Election Commission of India has been directed to publish that entire data on electoral bonds by March 31st on its website. This means that the data on who donated the money, how much money had come, this all may become public. And if it becomes public before March 31st, this could become a major election issue in the Lok Sabha elections, because the opposition may look at that list and say, see, who all donated to the BJP, who all donated to the parties in power in states. Is there a quid pro quo? The scheme is not proper. It has led to all sorts of money coming to political parties through anonymous means. This could become a major election issue, because the dates which have been fixed for the disclosure of all this data now is March 31st, and we all know that Lok Sabha elections are scheduled in the month of April and May, as they were in 2019. That is it.
Thank you for this huge honor. Lokmat, as the name itself suggests, has been the people's voice in all of Maharashtra. Lokmat has played a pivotal role in enlightening and empowering our society over decades, and I'm truly humbled and honored to be recognized by your eminent jury and readers today. Thank you, Lokmat Group, and thank you, Darda family. I'm truly honored. This recognition is very special to me, because my mother, Srimati Neeta Mukesh Ambani, who is my biggest role model and inspiration, won this award in 2016. For our family, Maharashtra is more than just our home. It is our karma bhumi. Today, my father-in-law Ajay uncle and my husband Anand are here with us today. Thank you, Ajay uncle, and thank you, Anand, for always supporting me and for showering me with your affection. My father, Shri Mukesh.
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narsimhan. Sandeshkhali in West Bengal's North 24 Parganas district is in the news for nearly a month now, ladies and gentlemen. First, it was the attack on Enforcement Directorate officials, and that too when they had gone to investigate Shahjahan Sheikh, and there was serious assault at their vehicles and also those officials. And now it's the villagers who are coming out and speaking out. They are staging protests demanding the arrest of the Trinamool Congress leader Shahjahan Sheikh and his aides Shiva Prasad Hazra and Uttam Sardar. The villagers have accused the